Summer is coming and you're thinking, how am I going to get my child to read? Have you ever considered putting them in a reading challenge? A reading challenge can be a great way to encourage your child to read and develop a love for literature. Reading challenges can look different. Some can be really complicated, and we will talk about some of those at the end, and some can be super, super simple. But they all focus pretty much on choosing and reading books, setting goals, and rewarding successes. Oh, and of course, having fun. What are the benefits of a reading challenge? It encourages reading habits, and good reading habits set you up for so much later on. To help children stay motivated and engaged in their summer reading challenge, it's important to create a plan that works for them. Set aside dedicated time for reading each day. Create a cozy reading nook or a special place to read at home. It's summertime. You can create a really fun outdoor reading space. Read aloud to your child. Even if they are able to read independently, a lot of your older children still love to be read to. Encourage them to choose their own books. Reward and celebrate progresses and milestones. Attend book-related events together. Events can be things like going to the bookstore, libraries, author signings, poetry readings, things like that. What are ways that you can make reading more exciting for your child? There are actually creative activities. You don't think of reading and activities, but there are that you can do that make reading much more exciting and engage your child with the books they read. Book journals. These help your child actually interact with their book, and it's a whole process kind of thing that's pretty great. And I have a link for that because I did a whole blog on that in the notes. Book club. Create a club with your kids' friends, and they can talk about the same book that they all read together during the summer. Book scavenger hunt. Choose items from the book your child is reading and hide them, creating a scavenger hunt. Character trait. So with this one, you match characters by cutting out or creating pictures from different books or a book that they have read. And then you have character traits that correspond to the character. Like the book that I'm going to mention at the end, The Paperback Princess. Elizabeth is the main character. And I would have plucky as my thing that goes with it, because that also will work on your vocabulary. Vocabulary. You can play vocabulary bingo. This one is more like learning, but it's still a game, and kids love games. If your child is tracking the vocabulary they either do not use very often or are not familiar with in their book journal, their reading journal, then you can take those words, because you already know which words that they need more exposure to. You get the definitions, and then you create a bingo card, and they put their words on the bingo card, and then you read the definition, and they mark the word to see where they can get a bingo. Word search puzzles. Okay, these are just plain fun, no matter what words you use, but you would use words based on key concepts, characters, items, etc. from your child's book. I have a link in the notes for an online free word puzzle maker. Book-themed crafts. Anytime you are looking for a specific kind of crafts for children under 3, crafts for teenagers, crafts at Christmas, whatever, you can go to Pinterest and there are hundreds of thousands for any kind of category. So I'm just going to give you a few for examples. Character bookmarks, storybook puppets, literary dioramas, book covers, posters, story stones, literary mobiles, book character masks. The list can go on and on. How should we celebrate? Incentives. Sometimes reading is not at the top of the I really want to do this list. Setting up a challenge with goals and incentives can really help. So to celebrate the small successes, every time a child reaches a reading goal or, does something that isn't really the big thing, take time to celebrate their accomplishment. They read that day, that kind of thing. This could be as simple as giving them a high five or a sticker. Planning special rewards. This is for reaching major milestones, such as finishing the book or reading for a certain amount of elongated time, like, a week or a month or whatever, or a certain amount of pages. These special rewards could be things like a trip to the library, a new book, or even a small gift. How do you keep track of the accomplishments or the time or whatever you're doing? Encourage the child to do it for you because you don't want more work. This is where they track their progress by keeping a reading log, or a chart. There are a number of paper or digital book or reading trackers. Book trackers or reading trackers are different from book or reading journals. I have a link in the note that will direct you to book trackers as well and give you some examples of those in both paper and digital format. Incentive ideas, small gifts, think dollar store, book-themed items, stickers, badges. If your child's on social media, and that's a whole nother discussion, did you know there's social media badges that you can create that you can put on their page? Reading certificates, outings, extra screen time. They can read with your pets. Extra pool time or park time or a sleepover or having friends sleep over with you or doing an ice cream party. There's so many different things that you can come up with. Specific challenge goals and ideas. Remember at the very beginning, I talked about how you could do it very simply or you could make it complicated. What we just talked about was a really simple reading challenge where your goals, you set your goals at the beginning and your kiddo says, I think I can read 3 books this summer. And each book will contain more than 70 pages. And that's the goal. And that's where you guys go from. Okay, you do something like that. You might break it down to every week, this many pages or something like that. A more complicated one can be where you actually help your child stretch in their ideas, their learning, and how they read and what they read. Because most of us are geared towards a specific genre or type of book. We like a specific kind of thing to read. But be forewarned, children who had at the top of their list, I don't want to read this summer, are not going to love the kind of challenge that helps them grow in their reading of what kinds of things they read. So you may have to really be clever with your incentives and your rewards to get that to happen. But I have a list of about 34 ideas for you for your reading challenge. And these are just different books that you would have that they can read. A book that's been made into a movie, a book about animals, a book that makes you laugh, a book that makes you cry, a book about a famous person, a book that takes place in another country, a book that's written by an author from another country, a book that's part of a series, a book about a holiday, a classic, a book that's about a sport, a book that teaches you something, a mystery, a book that has a one-word title, a book about a superhero, a book that takes place in the past, a book that has a happy ending, a book that has a sad ending, a book that is based on a true story, a fairy tale, a new release, a book that has a gorgeous cover, a book that takes place in space, or it could be like science fiction, right? A book that takes place in the future, a biography, a graphic novel, a book of poetry, a picture book, a chapter book, a book that is a retelling. Like a lot of your fairy tales, there are so many books out there that are now retellings of the fairy tales. One of my favorite series, it starts with Cinder. It's called the Lunar Chronicle series for your teens. I love that book, and that is a retelling. A book that is set in a place that you want to visit. So summer reading challenge can be a fun and engaging way to encourage your child to continue reading throughout the summer months. By incorporating creative activities, challenges, and rewards, children can have a blast while improving their reading skills and expanding their knowledge. If you love the idea of a summer reading challenge, but you don't want any part of trying to organize it yourself, head to your local library. Many libraries host summer challenges for the kids, as well as have a plethora of free events and activities all summer long to keep your kids busy and having a great time. What are some of your favorite books for kids? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you, and I'm always looking for new ideas. My favorite picture book of all time is The Paper Bag Princess by Robert Munsch. The movie quote, "Once you have read a book you care about, some part of it is always with you," by Louis Sachar in Holes. If you are hearing this message, you've listened to the entire episode, and for that, I want to send you a huge thank you. Please leave me a comment or review and share with other moms you know. Get in touch in the comments or on Kara's social media networks. See you next week for a new episode.